Hello and welcome to Friday's Masterclass edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I really enjoy making this video every week. I'm going to attempt to solve today's Times Cryptic crossword for you and explain some of the tricks and tips that I know about how to solve these cryptic crosswords. I've been doing this puzzle now for many years, so do not worry if some of the things that I talk about during this video seem completely crazy. The more you do of these, the more practiced you get, the easier they get. Anyway, let's just have a quick look at how difficult today's is. Most of these names that you're seeing here at the top of the list are typists, believe it or not. They actually solve the puzzle on paper and then type in the answer. It's quite incredible, and that's been proved statistically because their times are always within a few seconds of their sort of average time, no matter how hard the puzzle is. Deeply suspicious. Anyway, Moan is real. John McCabe, 6 minutes 32. Now, that's quite a long time for John, actually, so that says it's a hard puzzle. Andy Fisher, 8 minutes 20. Verlaine, current reigning Times crossword champion, 8 minutes 40. So it's definitely harder than average today. So we'll kick off in a moment. Have I got my dictionary? Yes, I've got my dictionary. Right. I won't use the dictionary other than to illustrate things after I've solved them, so I'm not going to cheat using the dictionary. Now, just a few things to mention before we kick off today. I'm going to say happy birthday in a crossword video, which is a rarity. I'm going to say happy birthday to Karen, who's started watching these videos. I think you might be watching this on Sunday, so in a couple of days' time, Karen, with your son Rich. Before your birthday, which is on Monday. And Karen, many happy returns. I hope you have a great birthday with chocolate cake, of course, and thank you for getting into these cryptic crossword videos. Next, over on Patreon, for those of you who enjoy our crossword content, Mark has just released his brand new solve of the Times Club Monthly Special puzzle, which I think you can find if you're a member of the Times Crossword Club. It's going to be down here somewhere. You probably have to show more and then go and where Club Monthly Special, there it is. So actually let's just click on this for a moment. I don't do this every month because it's absolutely brutal, and it takes quite a lot of dictionary work to solve it, but Mark does attempt to do it without a dictionary, which is always quite amusing. Yeah, it's a video I enjoy watching, so I mention it to you. It's over on our Patreon, which is like our crossword stroke Sudoku clubs, a couple of bucks a month if you're interested in that. And that video should be live right now. And the other thing to mention is for those of you who enjoy easier Sudokus or who want to get into variant Sudokus, we have a brand new app out today, which is our very approachable Sudoku app. Yeah, that's a little promotion, if you don't mind, for that as well. So let's go back to here and let's click on the Times Cryptic and let's get cracking and see how we go. Here we are, one across. Failed to take advantage of a reasonable mark at university. Well, okay, I don't know what this is yet, but there is a bit of crossword ease in this clue. The phrase "at university", this is often used by constructors as a sort of idiom for the word up. Because if you go up to university, you may have heard of being sent down. If you're sent down from university, you're expelled from university, and so down and up are these sort of colloquialisms for either being at university or not being at university. So at university, I think this is going to end in up. I'll put it in. Oh yeah, I've noticed there's a new typeface. I think that emerged yesterday. Anyways, we've got a different font that's being used in these crosswords at the moment. Fail to take advantage of. Mess up. Reasonable mark. A reasonable mark. What's a reasonable mark? I suppose it depends on one's expectations. I'm not sure. Let's see if we can justify the up there. 4 down. Earth, possibly. Planet. Reduced. Could be plain, grass, and other plant life. I don't know. Is there something called a plain reed? Plane, and then reed? I don't know. That's clutching at straws, not reeds. I don't really like that as a thought even. I'm going to carry on. 5 across. Doing something with unwelcome intruders. Doing something with unwelcome intruders. A really good clue because I don't know what it's talking about. Doing something with accompanying, escorting, unwelcome intruders as trespassers, gate crashers, burglars. I don't know. That's very interesting. Let's try 5 down. That would be useful. That is the longest entry in this puzzle. Theatre. Objected to supporting extra, appearing more often than expected. I mean, theatre is sometimes rep in these puzzles. Let me try and justify that for you. Rep. Where is it? Repertory. There it is. Let's see if we can... Do we double click that one? A repertory, yeah. Repertory theatres collectively. So rep sometimes is the word theatre. Objected to. Supporting. Well, in a down clue, if something supports something, it appears underneath it. So could this begin with rep and then be objected to? Contrad or something? Supporting extra, that could be an extra in cricket, like a bye. I don't know, I'm just floundering. And I think the whole thing will mean appearing more often than expected. Maybe beginning with rep. Remember these clues. I sometimes describe them as mathematical equations, which is accurate. The other way of thinking about them is as recipes. So, you know, if you add, I'm not very good at cooking, if you add flour, egg and water and mix it up, you can create cake if you heat it, maybe. Or do you need milk for that? I'm not even sure. But these clues are often like that. Let's try and find one and read it as a recipe. That one doesn't look like a very easy one. Yeah, let's read this one. Meditative place containing area in a quiet room. So the containing area here is like saying add eggs. You know, so a meditative place, I don't know what that's going to be. Where do people meditate? I was going to say sanctuary. Say it might be a word like spa or something. It's probably not. Containing area. Well, area can be A. It's an abbreviation for the word area that is supported by the dictionary. In a quiet room. Wow. Okay, I've not solved anything here. This is quite awful. I'm going to keep going. Dire omen, disconcerted, boss. Well, that must be an anagram of dire omen, surely. And it means boss, and the answer is no, I'm not getting that either. This is weird now. Sometimes I wonder whether, you know, my brain has had some incident overnight. And I'm just completely floundering. Okay, I'm going to try 15 across now. Law introduced with Leader of Parliament's agreement. Well, the Leader of Parliament, I mean, I suppose that you could view that as a PM, but I think it's more likely to be the Leader of the word Parliament, which is a P. So, okay, so a law could be an act. You get an Act of Parliament. And if we introduce that with the letter P, So it opens with a P. We would get the word pact, and a pact is an agreement. So finally we've solved one. Let's have a look at 15 down. Newspaper. Most unlikely to charge for each column. Well, I don't know what this is, but I do know an 8-letter word for a column beginning with P, and that is the word pilaster, believe it or not. So I'm just wondering if I can justify that somehow. Most unlikely to charge. I don't know. That's really weird as well, isn't it? So that could be wrong. Let's try 16 down. Expert regularly unveils something hard to get one's teeth into. Expert regularly unveils. Words like regularly, we talked about this last week, but they can often indicate that we need to take the regularly occurring letters out of another word or a phrase. So unveils is quite an unusual word. So I'm wondering if we have to take either the odd letters, which is going to be U, V, I, S, or the even letters, which are going to be N, E, L. So expert. One of those strings, something hard to get one's teeth into. Oh, there is something on the tip of my tongue here. Cracknel. That is a type of sweet, isn't it? If you're expert at something, you're crack. And nell is... they are the even letters in the word unveils, and that gives cracknel, which I'm not going to change. I think it's a type of, like, nougat, I want to say. A light brittle biscuit, a hard nutty filling for confectionery. I mean, that's pretty difficult, I think. But we've at least solved it, so let's try 20 across. What solicitor may do about overturning bulk of legal expenses? What a solicitor may do about overturning bulk of legal expenses. Legal expenses are costs, aren't they? So accost is the answer. Good grief. Okay, so a solicitor, obviously the constructor is trying to mislead you, but they can't tell lies to you. So all the clues have to be perfectly true, in the sense that when we read them, they have to be perfectly accurate. Now, when we read what solicitor may do, in our brains, or in my brain at least, I'm immediately thinking, well, a solicitor, that's somebody who works in the law. But a solicitor is also somebody who asks something of you. They solicit something from you. And therefore, in one sense, they would accost you. So let's... and so how does the wordplay justify that? How does what does the recipe say are the ingredients for the word accost? Well, about is circa, ca. That's overturned. We reverse it, and the bulk of legal expenses. Well, you'll have heard the phrase costs in connection with legal expenses. So the bulk of the word costs is the word cost. And that gives us accost, which is what a solicitor may do. So let's have a look at some of this and see if we can see. So solicitor, the first definition is exactly what our brains, or my brain, went to. A person who is legally qualified to act for another in a court of law. Blah, 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 blah. A person who asks earnestly. A canvasser. So... in a sense, that's how we're getting to accost there. It's nothing to do with the legal meaning of the word solicitor. Now look at this. We don't get very good checking letters, so we carry on with the acrosses. Let's have a look at 22. Sport isn't about entertaining opposing players. What is that then? Well, I want that. I think I've got that. Okay. It's another great. There's so much to unpack here in terms of crosswordese, I suppose. So remember, these are recipes. So in a recipe, you will be told what the thing is we're creating, what the definition is, what word are we looking for here, and that definition is almost always at the start or the end of the clue. So let's read this clue. Sport. Could we be looking for a 6-letter sport? Well, that's very likely. The other end of the clue is opposing players or players. Well, that could be the definition, but it's more unlikely. I think we can all think, oh, 6-letter sports, there are probably loads of those. So how do we read the recipe, the instructions for how we're going to generate our sport? Isn't about. Well, the word about could mean if you turn something about, you move it, don't you? So it could be an anagram indicator. So we might be looking for an anagram of the word isn't. And that has to entertain, it has to host opposing players. So can we think of a 2-letter phrase for opposing players? Now, the only way you're going to come up with this is if you are familiar with the card game Bridge, where North and South play against East and West. And North, South, East and West have very common abbreviations. So believe it or not, when it says opposing players here, it actually means East and North. They are opposing players on the bridge table. And then if we anagram isn't around the outside, we can create tennis, and that is a sport. Yep. I mean, believe it or not, that's not actually that difficult a clue. But only, I stress this, only if you've come across things like opposing players being bridge players before. And I totally appreciate if you're new to cryptic crosswords, that would never occur to you. But that is how the clue works. Right, let's try 24. King was convinced to remove bishop, no longer showing concern. King was convinced. So again, let's try and work out are we making a cake? Are we making a biscuit? What are we making here? So king was, could this be an 8-letter word for a king? Well, it could be, but I doubt it. Because king has some common abbreviations. You may have seen it in chess, for example. King is K in chess scoring. King can also be R in cryptic crosswords, from Latin for Rex, believe it or not. Again, every abbreviation has to be supported by the dictionary. If we go to R, we will hopefully find, there it is, King, Rex. I know it's mad, but that's how we roll here. So I'm thinking king is likely to be not the definition. So the other side of the clue is likely to be the definition. Showing concern, perhaps. So a word like caring is what I'm thinking might be the answer. It's not caring because it's not 8 letters, but something like that. So king was convinced. So can we think of a word that means was convinced? Believed? Relieved? Right, so that's the answer. We've got it. Well, it's not quite the answer, but I can now generate the answer from the thoughts that I've had. Because we said king was quite likely to be R or K. That's quite likely to be in this position, because there's nothing in the clue telling us to move this abbreviation around. Was convinced. Well, then I tried to think of words that mean was convinced. I came up with believed. To remove bishop. Well, in chess scoring, bishop is a B. You go B takes A7 or something like that. So if we remove a B from the word believed, we get elieved. Well, let's write that in here. Because now if we begin this with K, it doesn't make a word, but if we begin it with R for Rex, we get relieved. And no longer showing concern is you are relieved about something if you no longer show concern for it. So that is the answer. And Pilaster looks brilliant for this. But why? Newspaper. A newspaper. I'm sorry, I'm being really daft here. Most unlikely to charge. For each. Ah. That is absolutely brutal. That's one of the hardest word plays I think I've ever seen in the Times crossword, but I do understand it now. Okay, so, well, I mentioned before that I was aware there was an 8-letter word for a column, which was pilaster. So let's firstly justify that. Pilaster, a square column, partly built into and partly projecting from a wall. I didn't know the rest of it, I just knew the word. So, that is dealing with the word column. That is the thing we are making in our recipe. Now, I mean, this is very difficult, but I'm going to try and explain it. So, for each, do we know any words that mean for each? And you might think, what about the word per person? That means for each person, doesn't it? And that is actually the per we see in the clue, P-E-R. The newspaper here, even though this is the Times crossword, is not the Times newspaper. It is the I newspaper, which is a newspaper here in the UK. So that's that I. Most unlikely, if something is the most unlikely thing to happen, it's the last thing to happen. And that's the last you see here. And that charges, it fills. If you charge someone's glass, you refill it, don't you? You fill it up. So I last charges, fills per for each. And that gives us pilaster. That is very hard. I really think that's very hard. But I'm very pleased actually to even be able to explain it. So that's decent, hopefully. Let's try 19 down. Impatient. Authors preceded by everyone else. Impatient. If you're restive, you're impatient. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So, again, impatient here is the definition. If something belongs to the author is referring to himself, the constructor here. Author apostrophe S, so it's possessive. That's so the author. So authors could be I've. That the author could have written I've, but actually wrote authors. If you see what I mean. So they sort of referred to themselves as in terms of what they were doing. But I've there refers to authors with the apostrophe S. And then preceded by everyone else. Well, everyone else is the rest. So we precede I've with rest, and we get restive. It's not easy. I'm not going to claim otherwise. 19 across. Note about what listeners practice. If you rehearse, you practice. About what listeners? I mean, it must be. I mean, I feel like this must be rehearse. But I almost feel like it's missing a word. Note about. Note is, I talk about this sometimes in these masterclass videos, but note is a difficult thing in cryptic crosswords. It can just be the letter N. That is an abbreviation for note. But obviously a musical note could be A, B, C, D, E, F, or G. And note, and all of those notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, also have alternative spellings. If you think of them as in do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So D-O, D-O-H, M-I, M-E. I mean, so note is a slightly terrifying word. Note, I want this to be rehearsed. I really do. To practice is to rehearse, and here is what listeners do. Oh, listeners could be ears. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Right, I understand, and it is totally correct. The note is re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. No, I'm not going to attempt it, but re. Let's go and find what the word re means. And in the second meaning, it is the second note of the scale in solfa notation. Also with the anglicised spelling of ray. just in case you were wondering. So re, now which re is this in the clue? And this is important. Re is this R and this E, because we have to put the note about, it has to surround, a word that means what. Now, EH, if you've ever read a comic and someone said A, you know, that they'll be like, what? EH is what there. And listeners are your ears. So that gives us rehearse, which means practice. It's really clever, this. It's not easy. Let's try 17. Crop frame of blue movie. Right, I can do this. So again, what's the recipe for? The thing about this is it's not easy. Unless you've seen movie before in a cryptic crossword, it's quite difficult, because a movie could be, I don't know, an epic or a film. But in crossword land, the most popular movie of all time by an absolute street, oh, my phone's buzzing, is E.T. because E and T are very useful letters. So if you know that movie could be E.T., then this side of the clue is not going to be the definition, is it? It's not the thing we're creating with our recipe. So it's the other side of the clue, crop. So we're looking for a 4-letter crop that might end in E.T. Well, you've probably got a chance to get this even without the frame of blue thing, but the frame of the word blue is its edges, the things framing it. A picture frame is the edge of the picture, isn't it? So the frame of the word blue is the B and the E, and that gives us beet, as in sugar beet. It's a type of crop. So now we can do 7, well, hopefully we can do 17 down. We can at least have a look at it with some checking letters. Happened to live in a corrupt state. To live is to be, isn't it? So, in a corrupt state. Happened, befell, fallen, befallen. I quite like that. If you're fallen, I think you are in a corrupt state. A fallen idol. So befallen does mean happened, didn't it? Yeah, I think that's fine. Let's try 18 down. Constant checking by particular type of examiner. Constant checking by particular type of examiner. I don't know. Constant could be C. I think that is supported by the dictionary, as in a sort of mathematical constant. I'm not actually sure though. But if it was, then we'd be looking for a type of examiner probably. I don't really like that for 8-letter word beginning with E. I'm looking for a word that means examiner that is not examiner, which is where my brain keeps trying to go. Let's try 25 across. Moderate or moderate. Urgent legislation's passage. Urgent. Something's urgent. What is it? Crucial. Key, maybe. Could this end in key? Moderate. Legislation's passage. Or urgent legislation. Is there a word for urgent legislation? Like a riot act or something. I don't know. I'm not on the same wavelength as that clue. Let's try 21 across. I'm also slightly terrified because if there are any more clues like pilaster, I mean, imagine if you didn't know the word pilaster for column. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to solve that from the wordplay. 21 across. Issued new mandate. Might be an anagram of the word mandate if we treat those letters in a new way. After start of election, emanated is the answer there. So that's slightly easier. I mean, compare that is so much easier than pilaster. So, yeah, new mandate, we anagram the word mandate, emanated. After the start of election, the start of the word election is this E here. So, and the word issued obviously means emanated. So let's try 23 now. Unimportant, trivial, short-lived, ephemeral, menage a trois, threesome. I don't know. Menage, short-lived menage a trois. I mean, what? Unimportant, short-lived menage a trois. What? Unimportant. Something less short-lived. Timeless. Menage a trois. That's a fascinating clue, because I have not got a clue what it is, or really how to. I mean, one of the big tips Mark gives with cryptic crosswords is to try and think of short synonyms for all the words in the clue. Now, we don't actually have that many words in this clue, but it's quite hard for me, at least, to think of. I can think of synonyms for unimportant, short-lived, and menage a trois, but I can't think of short synonyms for any of them. Unimportant is sort of, I don't know, dull. Important. Lay. Short-lived. Menage a trois. I don't know. I really want it. No, I don't. Oh, this is bad as well. Oh, I need to get 14 down. That's what we're going to have to do. Right, sharing. Standard. Well, I do know some short synonyms for standard. Par would be one of them. Piece on which time article is based. Sharing. Partnering or something. Or piece on which time article is based. Partaking. There we go. Done it. Okay, so how did I get to that? Well, I thought of par for standard. And then I could, if we read the rest of it as a recipe, piece on which time article is based. Well, time, I know, can be t in the dictionary. Let's check that. But that's from Newton's equations of motion, like v equals u plus at. So let's try and find it. It will be here. Time. There we go. Symbol time. So that's this T. Article. Well, that's the indefinite article a. So if you see article in time, well, any cryptic crossword clue is very often referring to either a or the, or perhaps an. So I wondered about T and A here, and then I put those together in my brain and went parte. Do I know any 9-letter words beginning parter? And then I knew I was looking for a word then if this hypothesis was correct, which meant sharing, and I could think of partaking, and then a king is a piece in chess. So partaking is the answer. Now let's go back here. Moderate or moderate, urgent. Oh, okay. Well, this is the one. I mean, it's very good. I'm always impressed when constructors hide these, because these were always the clues that I looked for first. There's almost always one of these in every Times crossword, and it's where the answer is actually spelt out in the clue. So if we take a passage, what's a passage of something? It's an excerpt from it, isn't it? Take an excerpt of the phrase urgent legislation. Let's take that excerpt beginning with the G. You can see spelt out Gentle, gentle. And if something is moderate, it is gentle, and that is the answer. So let's go back to that one then. Constant, eternal? No. Checking by particular type of examiner. Constant. I don't know, my brain keeps going to eternal, but it's not eternal. Unless there's some sort of weird medieval spelling of eternal like that. But if there is, that's very, very... I don't think it is that. Unimportant, trivial... unimportant. I want this to begin with T. something like trifling. Trifling. Yeah, that's right. That's going to be right, because a fling is some sort of affair, isn't it? Short-lived. Ménage à trois question mark. I think I don't really understand this. I think what it's trying to say is something like this. A trio fling might be a ménage à trois in a sort of cryptic way. And a short-lived, I think it's trying to say, shorten that phrase that we've come up with for a ménage à trois. So rather than trio fling, it would be a tri-fling. Or it could just be saying that tri is a sort of prefix for three. So this phrase could be viewed as a short form of expressing a ménage à trois. Something like that, but I'm very sure it's correct. Oh no. And constant checking by particular type of external examiner, I suppose. Oh, that'll be right. I don't quite know why yet, but you do get an external examiner, don't you? So constant checking. Constant checking by. Yeah, goodness me. I mean, again, this is another one like pilaster, which is really hard to understand, but I have understood it, I think. Now, here we have to realise that by, the word by, is mathematically equivalent to x, as in, if you were going to do the multiplication 3 times 4, you might say, what's 3 by 4? To indicate 12. 3 times 4 is the same as 3 by 4. So x and by are synonymous. So we need a word for constant, which now is eternal. If something is constant, it's eternal. And that's checking, so it's sort of suffocating. It's restricting a word which means, or a letter that means by, which is x. And that gives us external, which is a particular type of examiner. It is hard. This is really difficult. And look, this is not great either, because although we've got a lot of the bottom done, we don't have many ways of getting into the top. We do have a P in this one. I haven't looked at this one. Steps possibly taken by crew in tube following warning signal. Crew in tube. What? Steps possibly taken by crew. I want that to be something like a spacewalk or something. In tube. The tube is a television. Tube. Following warning signal. A warning signal could be an alarm or a golfer's shout of 4 or something like that. I wondered about forceps, but I don't understand why it's forceps. I don't understand where the heading for our recipe is in the clue if the answer is forceps. Where is it telling us that the answer is forceps? It's not. Let's just have a quick look at this. I've not even looked at this. Uninterrupted sound on recording. Uninterrupted is constant. I was just thinking of that word from that one. Sound on recording. Uninterrupted sound is a drone. I don't know. I'm not sure. Oh, we've got an A at this end of this one. Working in Canada somehow. Being able to draw breath. Working in Canada somehow. Being able to draw breath. What? I wondered, when I started to read the clue, I wondered if it was an anagram of in Canada. So that is 8 letters. And if you work at something, if you work at dough, you sort of knead it, don't you? You bend it. So I wondered if that could be an anagram of in Canada. But that would, if that was right, then the definition would be somehow being able to draw breath. And I don't know any words for that. It looks like it wants to be anaconda or something. Well, oh, that is the answer. I've got very lucky here. I've got very lucky here. So I was thinking about anagramming in Canada, and I could see, or my brain was going to the word anaconda, I think because of the A at the end here, but I knew it wasn't right because there's no I in anaconda. But that has triggered in me an understanding of how the clue works. It is anaconda. So if a machine is working, how would we describe it? It would be on, wouldn't it? O-N. So on goes into Canada somehow. Somehow is the anagram indicator here. Treat the letters of Canada somehow. So move them about. And if we put on in an anagram of Canada, we get anaconda. And you may say, well, how does that relate to the clue? Being able to draw breath. Well, a being is a creature. And a creature that can draw your breath could suffocate you. And that is why the answer is anaconda. Because anacondas, they wrap themselves around you, don't they? And squeeze you. So they are beings that can draw your breath. Isn't that brilliant? It's very clever. And look at these checking letters we get. A, and O. That's really, really mean. Oh, legitimate target could be fair game. That is less appealing than soccer. Why is that? A legitimate target sounds like fair game. To me, that is less appealing than soccer. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's got fair game must be the answer, but I have no idea what this less appealing than soccer is meant to be getting at. I don't know. Let's try how we looked at this one, didn't we? I think it means boss. So if it did mean boss, domineer maybe? Yeah, domineer. Yeah, I was thinking of words like manager, but to boss is to domineer, isn't it? So that feels quite good actually. So now let's go back. Oh, no, I don't want to look at this one. Let's look at this one. Oh, I thought this might... Oh, no, well, it's not plain read then, is it? But it could be plain something. Earth, possibly. Earth is a planet. Reduce it. That would give us plain. So I need a word for grass. If you grass, you sing, you tell... Bent grass you get, don't you? Ryegrass and other plant life. Plain. I see. It might not be right, the idea about planet shortening. If this fair game would mean that would support plain something. Other plant life. Plain. I don't know. I'm not thinking of the right word. Let's go back to this one. Theatre, objected to, resented. I like resented at the end of that. So Oh, no. What about if I put the re at the bottom? Like that. Represented, overrepresented. So if something is extra, it's over, isn't it? And overrepresented. If something is overrepresented, it does appear more often than expected. Right. Okay. Good. Oh, fair game is being justified here. What's 5 across? Doing something with unwelcome intruders. Doing something with unwelcome intruders. I want it to be something like out-throwing or something you do to unwelcome intruders. Outputting. You'd output them. Outmoving. Outdoing. Doing something with unwelcome intruders. I don't know. What's this one? Pipe. Oh, pipe is a tube. Steps taken. Steps possibly taken by crew in tube. The hornpipe. The hornpipe, yeah. The hornpipe is a dance done by sailors. So the steps taken by a crew is the hornpipe. A pipe is a tube, and that follows a warning signal, which is the horn. Oh, plane tree then. Oh, no, I see, it's not. Well, it is. It is plane tree, but I was trying to shorten the word planet. But how about if we just say Earth possibly? Earth is a planet. Write planet in. Reduced grass. I even thought I said plain reed, but if I did it the other way, I put planet, and then I reduced the reed part of it, dropped the D off the end, I would get planet which if I rearrange the spacing gives plane tree, and a plane tree is something I've heard of, and it is another type of plant life. So what's this? IGHT, obviously. Uninterrupted sound on recording. Oh, come on, Simon. Uninterrupted sound is... straight? That's right. As in, if something is uninterrupted, it's straight. A straight line is an uninterrupted line, isn't it? And straight, this is a homophone. STRAIT is something you would find on a river, for example. You get a sound, as in a part of a river. Sound and straight, STRAIT, mean the same thing, but we can hear the word straight exactly with the AIT ending in exactly the same way that we'd hear the AIGHT ending. So when it says on recording, it's trying to indicate, as we hear it, they would sound the same thing. I mean, homophones are strange, but they are beloved of cryptic crossword writers, so you have to be prepared for that sort of thing to come up. So failed to take advantage. Okay, it is pass up, isn't it? I think I even said that earlier. A reasonable mark in an exam is a pass. And if you fail to take advantage of a chance, you pass it up. So it's pass up. This is my phone. It's WhatsApp. Does your WhatsApp do this? It's fair game, but I don't know why. I'm going to look at this and think about it. So a legitimate target. That's fair game. That is less appealing than soccer. That is less appealing than soccer. Is soccer described as sort of the fairest game or something, or fair game? That is less appealing than. don't understand it. I'm really sorry. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to explain this one. Soccer is... Oh, right, I've got it. So soccer is... It's sometimes described as the beautiful game, isn't it? And if somebody is beautiful... No, well, if somebody is fair, they're quite pretty, but they're not beautiful. So that's what this is getting at. So it's saying that a fair game is slightly less appealing than the beautiful game, which is the euphemism for soccer. So at least I've understood that now. Okay, that's good. And we've only got the northeast corner to do, and I don't think I've looked at half these clues. So let's have a look. 6 down. Steal the show from leading male character at end of performance. If you steal the show, you overawe. Leading male character, hero. At end of performance. The end of the performance is going to be the end of the word performance, which I think will be the E. Leading male. Leading male. Steal the show. If you steal the show, you completely dominate, you overawe, you... I'm not sure. Let's try this one. Short ceremony. Well, okay, I don't know what this is yet, but at least I can think of a short synonym for the word ceremony, and that would be rite, R-I-T-E. So I'm wondering if a short ceremony might be indicating R-I-T, and that's encapsulated by cross. Yeah, if you're cross, you're irate, and that's given me the answer, because now I've got irritate by combining those things, and if you incense somebody, you irritate them, you annoy them. So that was better, wasn't it? Let's try 8 down. Queen, perhaps. Queen is a type of cat. Behind protest involving Republican politician. Well, for our American viewers, one of your big parties is the Democratic Party. So Democrat, I think, is the politician here. And we've got... So how does this work? We've got cat for queen. That goes behind a word for protest. A protest is a demo, as in demonstration, and that involves R for Republicans. So we've got R involved in Democrat. Republicans and Democrats don't get on. That's my experience of when I was in Philadelphia recently. I was watching I was actually watching the Olympics, and during the Olympics they would have the adverts, and the adverts were vicious, both directions. We don't get quite so much viciousness in the UK. Our bitterness in our politics is slightly less overtly stated, although it is there. But anyway, that's the answer to that clue. Now that gives us 10 across, which is ending in R blank M. Oh, we did look at this one. Meditative place. Containing area in a quiet room. Ashram is some sort of sanctuary, isn't it? I mean, that must be right. I can see how it works from a wordplay perspective. So, meditative place is the definition. It's interesting, actually, because the word containing here, yeah, it's a little interesting. I'm not sure what it's doing, because let's just miss it out and continue reading the clue. Area, I think that's this A here. In A, that's this A. Quiet, if you say quiet to somebody, you might shush them. Shh. And room is RM. So, meditative place, I think, is the definition for ashram. And I think, okay, so, and then what the constructor's trying to say is containing, as in including area, this A, in a quiet room, but actually the word in does that job as well. So containing is really just being used as flavor text here. It's not... Yeah, and if you were to delete it and then read the clue, meditative place, area in a quiet room, the sentence wouldn't make sense, would it? So it would be a less good cryptic clue, although it is interesting that. Let's try 12 across. Diplomacy is tact often, so I'm thinking tactic. Diplomacy initially is clearly. Well, if you take the initial letters of is and clearly, you get IC. Add it on to diplomacy, tact, and we get tactic, and it's something, an expedient is a tactic. So we're doing a bit better now. Steal the show from leading male character. I want this to be something like star here. Steal the show. If you steal the show... Oh, why can't I get this, Simon? You're so daft sometimes. Let's go back to this one then. Doing something with unwelcome intruders. Doing something with unwelcome intruders. What is it? Outcried. Something doing. Oh, I'm sorry. Doing... It's very hard for me, at least, to understand. I wonder if this is a cryptic definition. Doing something with unwelcome intruders. Or do we cut it after the word doing? We need a word that means doing, and we also need a description of something with unwelcome intruders. And I can't think of what the answer is, which makes me think I'm going to have to go back to this one. Steal the show from leading male. What's the leading male? Character, and then character at the end of the performance. That makes me think character is a synonym for letter. So I think it might be the letter at the end of the word performance. That still gives me the E. So leading male. Best. Upstage. Upstag. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Steal the show from is to upstage. If you're leading in a match, you're up in it. A male is a stag. So we get upstage, and now occupied. Oh, that's brilliant. That is a brilliant double definition. Right. So I didn't cut it in the right place. In fact, I found the one place probably you don't cut it. You have to cut the clue after the word something. If you're doing something, you're occupied. And and with unwelcome intruders is occupied, as in an occupied territory. It's got unwelcome intruders in it. That is brilliant. I mean, all I can tell you is that is a brilliant and difficult crossword puzzle. I think probably we explained everything. In fact, one of the things that I think makes this so brilliant is it has not resorted to difficult vocabulary in order to be difficult. I mean, if we look at all of these words, apart from perhaps pilaster and maybe cracknel, all of the other words in the grid are very normal words, aren't they? There's nothing really strange. Ashram, slightly strange. But I would say this puzzle does not have as difficult vocabulary as many times crosswords, and yet it's much more difficult than many times crosswords because of the wordplay, because of the cleverness of the constructor. Is it right? Now it'll be wrong and I'll feel really silly. No, it's correct. That's great. What a lovely puzzle. Right, so now the video is, we've already crept over an hour, but I know some people do like to see me actually go a bit more quickly, so I will try and just quickly solve this times quick cryptic without pausing very much. Let's see how we get on with this. House here, Medici. Left under wraps, cry out. Not sure, let's try that one. Broken arm nursed by men, he's tailed. I should get that, don't know. Gladly send dog out to find insect is daddy long legs. Frame way to describe princess royal. Something like, I want that to be Suzanne. Notice one in tirade, incandescent. Radiant is the answer there. Add one in rant. Article by one German-backed woman. Why can't I get that? Because I'm daft. A broken arm. He's tailed. Merman. Is that what that is? Area near ship in depth. That must be abyss. Let's go back here. Chassis. Charles's sister. That's brilliant. Good grief. 13 across. Hawk-eyed. Old British man. Observant. This puzzle is brilliant as well. Play patience. Temperament. No. Play patience. Oh, Simon. Member returned in fat leotard. Toe reversed in lard. She inspires weary author regularly. ATO. Erato, the muse. Article by one German back. Anita, is it? That might be wrong. I'm not sure about that. Left under wraps, cry out, bellow. Yellow? Yellow? I don't know. Play patience, tolerance, that is right, as in the play something might have. Diet regimen. Can't type. Let's try that one. Duke drawn medal. River close to port and dock maybe. The Tweed. 15 down, cold in HTV, extremely so. Arctic. Castle. Okay. Say why lover no longer is unattractive. Unattractive. I want that. Maybe example is what I'm thinking. Might not be right. Old general has a hold over father. Agrippa. Goodness me. Oh, it's not then. Say why. Explain. Arsenal, get act sorted in former FA location. Oh goodness. Something gate, isn't it? It's where the FA used to be gate, and I can't remember what the answer is to that. Beer feeding explosive is talent. Ale in TNT. Revolver, English, brought into factory. A planet is a revolver. Rural, probably. A Russian runner is a river in Russia. Lancaster Gate is that one. Oh dear. Oh, a German article is ein. Yeah, that's going to be right. Uses energy in remote region. Uses spends. No, it's not. It's not that. Wilds is okay. This is something like bellow, then, isn't it? Left under wraps. Cry out. Yes, that's very clever. It is bellow. Oh, although I've got to spell it right. Bellow. There we go. That's a very, very good short one of these quick cryptics. A lot going on. My internet's so bad at the moment. Look how slow that is. Okay, so the way that last one worked, left is L, and then under, a word for under is wrapping. So left under wrap, so we get below wrapping L, and that's why it was bellow. But there was a lot of very nice stuff in there. Chaz's sister, as in King Charles's sister, which is Anne, which is the Princess Royal. That's how chassis was working. Isn't that clever? So I came 18th there. Not terrible, not terrible, given I was given some explanation as I went along, and that was quite tricky actually. So anyway, that's a long video. I hope it's all right. Do let me know in the comments if you enjoy this, and consider perhaps dropping the video a like. It's something. It would be lovely, wouldn't it? I think these puzzles, I think there is so many people who would enjoy them. The English language is absolutely remarkable that you can create this sort of beautiful wordplay, and it brings a smile. It lights up your mind when you solve these clues, and you know, I just feel that it's one of these hidden things that lots and lots of people would like if they got into it. And I think the problem is that there is a barrier to entry, because you've got to be prepared to learn some of these abbreviations in order that you can appreciate some of the wonderful things like frame way to describe Princess Royal. It's just brilliant. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.